And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing? Come on over, come on over. We got kind of a 20-in-1 type of video today. An exciting topic about, well, I guess our first step here at 25/8 Games and why it's going to be VR first. And you're going to be getting, I guess, a lot of extra, insider knowledge in the gaming industry on how games get made. At least a higher overview of it all. Let me give you guys, let me set the stage for you. When we first announced 25/8 Games, our new video game studio, and our first game we're working on, Kronoseum, when people saw it, they're like, dude, Kronoseum looks absolutely sick. I love the characters. I love the world. And then people are like, whoa, it's VR? That's interesting. Why is it VR first? And that's what we're going to spend a bit more time talking about, because in my initial announcement video, when I shared the first details of Kronoseum, it was so tough editing that video because, as you're going to see, it's going to be a longer video today. I was trying to summarize 3 years in as short as possible. I summarized 3 years in 1 minute, and there's a lot of information I kind of want to convey that helps us understand why VR is such an amazing first step for 25/8 Games, for Kronoseum, and how, once we build this awesome momentum, build a killer game for the VR world, how we can take Kronoseum to other avenues out there. And before we talk about that, to help us get to those other avenues, it helps out so much, my friends, if, I guess, first and foremost, subscribe to this channel if you want to, follow along with the video game development journey. That helps out a ton. It also helps out a ton if you go to this Kronoseum page. If you haven't learned about the game, hey, feel free to check out all the details we have. It helps out so much. It's completely free. If you click on Notify Me on launch, because that's what we're going to talk about today, the publisher aspect in regards to making video games, it helps out so much. Send a signal that people want the world of Kronoseum to come to life, whether for VR, maybe other platforms down the road, or you just want to help 25/8 Games get the best foot forward in this video gaming world. It really does help out so much. And with that said, why don't we talk about, well, why VR first and how games get made? Let's get down to business. We got a lot to talk about today. I put together a quick presentation here because I feel like it's the best way for me to describe the past couple years of me being inside the video game industry, and also, I guess, more into the specific details why VR first here. And if you want the TLDW, you want to be in, you want to be out, you're done. Okay, here you go. Why is Kronoseum a VR game first? I can summarize it in 4 Ps. Passion, publishers, positioning, and price. All right. That's all you need to know. Thanks for stopping by. Leave that like, comment down below, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, I'm kidding. Stick around a bit longer if you want to learn a little bit more about the journey. Especially, too, if you're someone out there that wants to know more about the video game industry, we can maybe talk about some of this stuff more in depth, because I know a lot of you guys have amazing ideas, and maybe you want to figure out, how do I get involved in the video game industry? I think this is going to be a great opportunity to share some of my experiences, and maybe I'm sure some of you guys have experiences, too. Share them down below. And I think the first thing I want to talk about with all these 4 Ps, as I kind of describe it, passion. I got this little clip you guys may have seen in the initial announcement video. I truly believe, we only have so many years on this great, big, beautiful earth here. It's so fortunate we have this opportunity to be here, experience life itself. And I really believe in the time we have here, the best way to make the most out of our lives and put the best work you can out there, being passionate about something, whatever it might be, whether it's your career or something you're studying, maybe making a video game. It helps out so much if you're truly passionate about it. And for me, yes, I've played, mobile games, console games, PC games. My first device I played on was Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boys, Dreamcast, all that stuff, right? Well, especially in recent years, VR has turned into my absolute favorite platform to play. When I'm not making videos on YouTube for mobile games, I'm in my free time, I'm playing VR games. It is literally at the cusp of a new frontier of gaming. It is the ultimate form of immersion that I simply can't experience, whether I'm playing on a controller and pressing just a few buttons, or mobile, whatever the case might be. It really is a huge area of opportunity, and we're in those early stages of VR. And there are so many stories to be told that haven't been touched yet, and that's where Kronoseum is going to come in. So I absolutely love this platform. I think it's an awesome way, not just a marketing position, but a great way to, as a player, as a fan of VR, bringing some of these worlds to life. And it's just a fun slideshow of my family. My brother, man, what a ham. He loves airsoft. And anytime we're playing like Ghost of the War, Breachers, Population 1, he puts his airsoft gear on. He really gets into it. We've even played VR outdoors. My gosh, I've had an absolute blast. Let's go a bit more in depth on all this. And I'm going to show this slide. Now, it's got a lot of text on it, so don't be too scared by this. Basically, long story short, what I want to do, you may have seen this in the initial announcement video. I tried summarizing my past 3 years in the video game industry in like 3 segments, right? Before Kronoseum, the part 3, 25/8 games that I founded, there was a separate LLC, separate venture I formed with 2 other co-founders, and man, we were killing it. We were making crazy progress. We were blowing publishers' minds, IP's minds. They're like, whoa, this is the type of energy we want to see in games again. And I guess we can break it up really quick. Again, I don't want to make this video 30 minutes long, but part 1, when I first wanted to explore making a video game, what better way to start doing that than literally going to an IP, intellectual property? What is that? I guess, quickly summarize, I think, Pokemon, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, I don't know, Superman, DC, Batman, those type of things, right? Established properties that a lot of people are familiar with, right? So we went to an IP. I identified a big area of opportunity, a big game that should be made, and they absolutely loved it. They loved the game idea, the core team that we had besides us founders. We had literally some of the some of the OG devs that were there when the original texts of gaming were written. Literally an absolutely legendary team, and they told us, go out, finish building the team, and come back. Let's get this party started. Well, the post-COVID bubble burst, and if you don't know what that is, well, basically, once people started getting back to their lives, people weren't playing games as much. People weren't watching Netflix, Disney Plus, all that stuff, right? We had to get back and get back to the real world and start doing stuff again. Well, a big bubble burst, right? There's heavy investment, a lot of hiring, a lot of spending during that COVID era, and it burst, and basically money dried up in the video gaming world, and it got a lot more complicated. And basically, the IP we're working with, they're like, man, we got to shelve this. Maybe better times. I think that's one thing we learned. We kind of, if we came in maybe a little bit earlier in 2020, 2021, probably a different story could pan out. But I really do believe everything happens for a reason. Part 2, we didn't just want to sit around, right, and hope that maybe things change and the IP comes back. We can, get going on that project. We want to explore making a hero collector. What I mean by that is, well, Galaxy of Heroes, Marvel Strike Force, Raid Shadow Legends. Why? Well, because I think a lot of you guys, if you follow us on YouTube, well, that's basically what we've been playing for the past years. And we love the genre. We're very intimate with those type of games. It made sense. So, again, came up with a new idea. This was an original IP, so not attached to anything established. And we went straight to the top of a mobile gaming publishers. This is when I started learning what publishers are looking for. First part was learning what IPs are looking for. But publishers, especially with the market, there was, a chicken and the egg problems we're going to talk about. A bit of a catch-22 where they love the idea, but they want us to go out, build basically a big portion of the game, prototype, I guess, to put it lightly, and they needed metrics. So you have to put that game on the market, so on the App Store or the Google Play Store, get metrics, right? Mobile games are kind of a different beast, unlike, most PC games, console, and VR games, where, the fun's important, the gameplay's important, but the monetization is just as important, or depending on who you're talking to, it could be more important, right? And, to do that, it was quite expensive to even build, I guess, a smaller version that can be tested and garner metrics. I guess to give a little perspective on this, in case you don't believe me, there is another content creator out there. Shout out to Hell Hades. He plays Raid Shadow Legends. And around 9:22, I think, I talk about this in the video, where he went out to make his own hero collector game. And it's called Godforge. Shout out. Fateless Games is the studio. And in alpha stage, back in August, they said they were at $14 million. I don't know about you. I don't think a lot of us have that type of money laying around. And so that's the problem, right? Especially nowadays where things are a bit sketchy when it comes to funding in the video game world and just the tech sector in general. They need to see significant upfront personal investment. And, that's a lot of money. It really is. Tens of millions of dollars to create, if you want to get that replicated experience, like some of those hero collector games. So that led me to where we are now. My solo studio that I founded, Kronoseum, and it's kind of a big reason why we're going for VR, right? As I said, it's a platform I love. I got, again, amazing talent behind the game, super experienced in not just VR, but AAA games as well. And on top of that, as we're going to discuss, there's kind of a first mover advantage in the VR world on top of that. So we're going to go a bit more in depth in all this, but I guess I was able to spend at least more than 1 minute kind of talking about how I got to this point. So let's go talk about a little bit more on all this. So we talked about passion, but here's the thing. Everybody's got ideas, right? What's a good idea? That's a whole other conversation, maybe for another day. But it's not just you have an idea, you wake up, millions of dollars falls from the sky, and you make the game. It's released 1 week later. Congratulations. Clap it up. Well, the reality is, here's a little graphic that gives a very very high-level summary, games take a lot of time to make. And also a lot of money. I think that was probably the biggest thing, right? I mean, we all assume games cost money, right? But especially when exploring the mobile games and the other project that we were working out, that IP, it's the first big snap back to reality. It's like, wow, games are really expensive to make, especially if you're trying to make a console, PC, mobile game. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about with VR, where that's an advantage, especially for a new studio and something that I'm able to self-fund the core of. It's a bit more reachable than saying trying to go all in on a $14 million plus Hero Collector game, right? And here's the thing. The biggest thing about making a game, you need to get funding, right? And, again, there's so many variables, from the scope of the game, what type of game, the genre, the platform it's on. It could be something as a simple 2D side scroller, which can be very cheap, and especially if you're someone that has talent to develop games. Yeah, I can't draw people, and I don't know how to code, so not looking good for me on that front. So it's not like I could bootstrap and figure out how to make awesome 3D models, and, I can code. Yeah, that's why I need people that know what they're doing, especially with all this experience. But a lot of games need funding, and the primary form of funding is through what's called a publisher. You probably heard of the term publisher before, but I'll say it anyways. I have a little summary here. Publishers are companies that fund, market, and help finish games. And in exchange, generally, publishers get, a revenue share. Oh, so I'm sorry. You split the revenue after the game gets released. Now, there are other ways of funding, right? There are angel investors. There are these special purpose vehicle investments that you could be doing as well. Crowdfunding as well. So there's a lot of ways out there. But by and large, games need publishers to get the full fruition, especially those mid and those massive size games out there. And, well, here's the thing. You need to know what the publishers look for. And this is, again, incredibly important on my journey to get to this point, especially when, working with publishers and understanding what they want. I could summarize it very simply in 4 things here. Especially nowadays, they want a proof of concept, prototype, demo, whatever you want to call it. That acts as several things. Number one, it shows the fun of the game, right? It shows it in action. It shows that you have a capable team that can execute on it. Also, another big thing, it shows you got skin in the game. It shows that you put some money in. They know you're serious about it, right? Instead of you just trying to fish for ideas and hopefully they fund everything. It serves as a big reduction of risk. That is one of the biggest things when approaching a publisher or any other type of investment out there, whether it's going to be angel investors, other sort of special purpose investment vehicles out there. It reduces risk. That's one of the biggest things, especially nowadays. Also, they want to look at market fit. And that's one thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to mobile PC console. Especially in the world of Kronoseum, the type of game we're making. If you would try to make that game on mobile PC console, there are a lot of games that basically already provide that type of experience. So in VR, though, there's a huge market opportunity. Team experience is another thing, showing that you have a capable team, right? I think I could say pretty confidently, and we have some more people joining the 25-8 Games team here very shortly that we should be announcing probably the next week or so. We got, again, industry legends in both the AAA, the VR world. So, again, reducing risk, it gives confidence that you can make this game. You have a team that can deliver on games on top of that. And the other thing is financial realism. What do I mean by that? The budget, right? And also, is it something that, publishers, investors can see some sort of return on investment, right? At the end of the day, people are making games, and, well, people generally, I know, I wish it was different. People generally want to make money if they're gonna help you out, right? So, here's the thing. I kind of want to show what stage we're at, right? I show you kind of this large overview on the game development cycle. Here is where we are at, so you kind of understand the larger picture of it all. Right now, I would say we're kind of in the later stages of ideation and concept, pre-production. We're currently at the stage where we're building basically a demo, proof of concept, something where publishers and even you guys can see, wow, this gameplay looks awesome. And then with that, you kind of move over to this concept pitch deck, where then you meet with publishers, other investors. You show them the fun of the game. You show them how your team, how they can deliver, where this game fits in the market. So that's where we're at right now. So like a lot of people ask, hey, what exact VR headsets is going to be on? What type of, are you going to have battle passes? What type of game modes? Right now, the core focus is we want to make a killer proof of concept that just wows. These publishers are like, yes, we need this game for the VR landscape. So that's where we're at right now. We're creating something that people can actually see, and again, they see that there's skin in the game. They see that team can deliver, and more importantly, they see that the game is fun. So that's currently the state that we're at, and this is where it gets into this catch-22 problem. I call it the publisher catch-22, chicken and the egg. Here's the thing, again, grand majority of games out there need a publisher. Well, a publisher needs a prototype. A prototype needs funding. And generally, if you need funding, you go to a publisher. So you can see how this kind of turns into this cycle. And a lot of games, and I'm speaking from experience here, a lot of games get stalled up here. Even some of the most amazing ideas that I have seen, not even just stuff that I've worked on, I've seen other people say amazing ideas. You kind of get stuck in this catch-22, this chicken and the egg problem. You need some sort of major form of funding to get beyond just that initial prototype as well, that initial demo. So a lot of games get stalled out on this stage. Well, that's where we get into the world of VR, and especially in the context of where I'm at right now. So yeah, VR, it might be a smaller, let's say, install market, right? It's not going to be nearly as big as, let's say, mobile, console, PC, but there are bigger opportunities. I put together this little column, comparison so you could see these are a lot of the core factors that I kept in mind when deciding where should the first game Kronoseum make its appearance on. Here's the thing, as we showed, just in the concept of like a mobile game, tens of millions of dollars. You want to make Kronoseum in, let's say, a PC console experience that can compete with games like Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, or the other games that kind of have a similar experience, you're going to need more than that. That's very difficult. Whereas VR, because of the scope, the team size you need, generally it's 5 to 10 times plus more affordable. That's a big deal, especially for a studio making its first game, right? It's kind of like this. I say this, you can't just go for the king right away when you're playing chess, right? You kind of got to build up to that, and that's a huge aspect of it all. The other thing, competition. In just the PC, mobile, console guy, I have an image here I'm going to show in a second. Thousands of games are being released monthly. That just even on PC console. You get the mobile, you're talking a lot more. Whereas VR, this is where you have a big area of opportunity. You have a chance to stand out because it's a bit lower, where generally you get tens to maybe low 100 new games added per month. So instead of being stuck in a sea with a lot of games that even might be very similar to what Kronoseum is trying to provide, well, we're able to stand out a bit more. And again, that's what you're looking for, especially as a new studio. You want to get recognition. You want people to know us to be able to play your game. The other thing, publisher access. Again, there's other ways of funding a game, but that's by and large the primary way of getting a game funded in the video game industry. Here's the thing, and I'm telling you this from personal experience. Especially in the mobile world, it's very saturated. And what I mean by that is you go to a publisher, you're pitching a mobile game, they're like, cool, I'm going to see another 20 later on today, another 20 mobile game pitches. Why should yours get funded? That's just the nature of it. There's a lot, because there's a lot more games being put on the market for those platforms. There's also a lot more games, even many more games that are being pitched to all these publishers out there. Whereas in VR, again, not as many VR games being put out there, and there's generally a greater demand for content, as we're going to talk about later, especially in the VR landscape. They're looking for titles that can showcase the power, the experience, the hardware, especially like the new Oculus Quest 3, what it can provide. So there's generally a greater demand to get high-quality VR games, right? And the other thing, kind of going back to the competition, has this game been done? So Kronoseum, in case you guys did not know, you didn't check out the Kickstarter page and watch the video, it's basically a hero brawler. Some people call it a hero shooter. The simple way I like to explain it, imagine Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, but reimagined for VR. So having that full immersion of being a superhero, essentially. Well, that has been done quite a lot on mobile, console, PC. Heck, even Star Wars had their own version, Star Wars Hunters. And that game from Star Wars, got canned a couple months after launch. That says something. Whereas in VR, there's been games that kind of gently touch on this, but not in the way that we're doing with the full hero immersion, being able to cast spells, use swords, blasters, throwing shields, just to start with our initial hero roster. VR is looking for that game to define that space. So in a way, there's kind of like a first mover advantage. Again, not a lot of people have done it, especially the way we're doing it with the maps, the characters, and also kind of bringing in factions on top of that. So it's a big opportunity for us to use this blank canvas that VR has given us and tell new stories and experiences. And then the other thing, too, kind of going to the first point here, because, well, games are expensive. And I said you need to have some sort of proof of concept, prototype demo to get additional funding to bring the game to full fruition. Because those games are more expensive on PC, console, mobile, it gets nearly impossible without major funding, whether you happen to strike gold when you're looking, maybe you found oil and you have lots of money in your pocket. With VR, because again, generally the scope is a bit more narrow, right? You don't need hundreds of people to make a game. Also, in VR, generally the scope is a bit slimmer. And if you want to be brought to mobile counts PC, well, you got to compete with those other games, and it means you need a lot new features, a lot more characters, whatever the case might be. Essentially, the investment that I'm going to be putting forward, it's achievable with that modest investment. As you see from the Kickstarter, well, I kind of highlight what my initial investment is bringing to Kronoseum, where I'm going to get 3 characters, right? You're going to see them in action, see their powers. We're going to get our first map, Ashen Crossroads, and you're going to see what these characters do, them using their abilities. And this would be huge, just with this core that I'm building for the world of VR. And basically, you would take this to a publisher and be like, look how cool it is when Barricade throws his shield through Valeria's portal, when Hoshiru casts his fire dragon. That's what we're trying to show. And we're going to talk more about that game plan as we kind of keep developing this game. And you guys subscribe to the channel and keep seeing the updates. We're going to have some more updates here coming shortly. So that's essentially where we are at right now with all this. You need the funding from a publisher, but to get that, you need to build something that they could see as fun and they could see that you can deliver, and you reduced risk by building said demo, prototype, and whatnot. Now, the next thing I want to show is this. This really kind of shows what I'm saying here. Especially as a new studio, it's incredibly, tough out there in the video gaming world. And VR provides a big opportunity because there are so many more opportunities to make games that haven't been made. And also, you get recognized more. The top image shows, this is a couple months outdated, but it shows, look at this. Just in 2024, there were 18,900 games released on Steam. That's not even including PlayStation, Xbox, and all that. Look at VR. VR, in totality, for the entire year of 2024, 538 games were released. And in 2025, this is fairly recent data. This is 324 games, and we have a few more months in 2025. As you can see, it's going to be a lot easier, especially for a game as big as we're planning for Kronoseum. It's going to be able to stick out and get more appreciation than being in the flood of tens of thousands of games. And we're not even talking about mobile. It's even crazier out there in the mobile world of how many games get pumped out on a daily basis. So that really puts it in perspective. And now you might be like, well, what makes VR publishers different, right? So these are some publishers for the VR world. You got Vertigo Games, Endreams, Meta, obviously one of the biggest players in the VR world, Beyond Frames. And, if you're wondering what are publishers inside of the non-VR world, well, you got things like EA, a Microsoft, Sony. Those are all publishers for, your console. Tencent is big in the mobile game world, right? Well, here's the thing. Unlike a mobile game or console game, as I write here, the VR publishing is kind of in a different position. It's often platform-driven. They're looking to find these high-quality titles that showcase their headsets. Because, again, the VR world, it's growing, right? Especially the Meta Quest 2 sold so well. It's a growing, emerging platform. But unlike, PCs, mobile devices, which are, almost everyone's got a mobile device, some PC have some sort of a PlayStation 4 or 5, whatever it is. Not everyone has headsets yet, right? So they're looking for these flagship experiences, and I really do believe, as we're going to be showing the next couple months, that Kronoseum is going to be one of those. So it's a bit different, whereas mobile, they're like, all right, can you get us a couple $1 billion out of this? Can you get billions of players? Where VR, the context is a bit different. Of course, they want the game to make money, right? But they also want something cool that can maybe bring people over and finally experience VR for the first time. And then we have, basically, if I could summarize the strategy that 25A Games is going through, I could put it this way. Step one, what we're at right now. Well, there's a lot of steps before this, right? But I'm summarizing basically from here moving forward. First and foremost, self-funding the core proof of concept. So those 3 characters, their abilities, the map, showing them in action, awesome. Pitch the publishers, like some of those that I presented there. And then afterwards, the game's a smash hit. We did it, guys. Kronoseum killed it. It's one of the most revolutionary games for VR. Awesome. Well, we could then maybe expand or pivot to other type of platforms. There's the world of Kronoseum that I built. It can live and breathe outside of VR, but VR, not just from a business sense, how it's a great way to get your game noticed and bring a high quality game to a platform that really would love something like that. It's also probably, I think, the best way to... What better way to get immersed in a new world than literally being inside of those characters? I can't think of a better reason. So it's a great way for us to build smart, not build big right away. So that's the overall strategy on what we're looking to do here at 25A Games, right? And not even just 25A Games. This is generally the strategy, for just making games in general. And I want to share this as well with you guys. I kind of already, jumped the gun on this a little bit. VR is the foundation of what I'm trying to do here at 25-8 Games with this amazing team. It's not our limit. It's the starting point. It's where, once we build the world, the characters, we can show the core combat. It can really live anywhere. I mean, truly, you could probably think of a million ways that we can, take Kronoseum to the next level, to another platform, to another game, whatever it might be. It could be like a Mortal Kombat type of game. Could be like a League of Legends thing. Could be, who knows, a Galaxy of Heroes, a Raid Shadow Legends down the road. The world of Kronoseum has so much room to grow. And this is the best place to start from a passion perspective, business perspective, as well as just being able to build the world of Kronoseum. You can't get better than literally being inside the shoes of all these characters here. And I want to leave you with I guess a bit of a story to kind of maybe drive the point home. You guys heard of this company called Lamborghini? Yeah, you may have heard about it. It didn't start off making Aventadors, Gallardos right away, right? Murcielagos. No! They started off making tractors. After World War II, hopefully my history is not that rough, the founder of Lamborghini started making tractors. And he did pretty well for himself, right? And then he took that momentum that he built and brought it over to supercars, something that he was also passionate about. They mastered the engineering, the machinery, the precision that they're known for. And that was their foundation to leap into the world of supercars. And in a kind of a similar way, the VR, it's our initial groundwork, the initial foundation for this game that experienced large universes and other platforms out there. So hopefully this little, history, backstory, made sense on why this is such a great way for not just 25-8 Games to start growing its roots in the world of gaming, but also an awesome way to really experience Kronoseum in these early steps that we're taking. Let's kill it in VR. Let's make it a gosh dang game. Look at me trying to be family friendly here. And then you know what? Once we kill it here, make something truly magical, memorable for the world of VR. I look forward to seeing what can we do with that momentum and where we can go. Even at the very minimum, these characters are so cool. I would love a standalone game just playing as Barricade, Valeria, Hoshiru. So just think of it like that. There are so many ways we could take it. But as I say, everyone's got awesome ideas. Putting them into execution, that's the trick. And I really do believe this is the best way to have Kronoseum start its journey, as well as 25-8 Games in that larger world of gaming. So again, thank you so much for stopping by today. Let me know your thoughts down below on this little history lesson that 25-8 Games been through. And again, it helps out so much. Subscribing to the channel here. Also, clicking notify on launch on the Kickstarter page really helps out a ton. Publishers, they see that and they're like, wow, people really care about this world of Kronoseum. They want to see this come to VR. It really does help out a ton. And feel free to also follow us on the variety of social media that we have out there. Discord, all that stuff. And stay tuned. We got some cool updates. And I guess I could say, at the end of the day, it's great to be in the Kronoseum today.